economics have also imposed higher fuel surcharges. President Trump's war with Iran is becoming more and more costly for the American consumer, and those costs only look to get higher in the coming weeks.
Let's talk about those costs now with Katherine Tai, who's with me here in the studio. She was the U.S. Trade Representative under President Biden, and she's now Executive Director of the Coalition for New Trade. It's always good to see you, Ambassador. I want to ask you about some of the concerns about the global impact of this war. And of course, we know that the Strait of Hormuz being closed has had a massive impact. We've seen the European Union say it might be scaling up its naval force to protect shipping routes disrupted by the war. What do you think of the interplay of all of this right now?
I think that taking a step back, it's a really important time to think about what's happening in the big picture. The global economy is deeply destabilized right now. There are vectors of change that are happening anyway. The climate, technological advancement, and then there's also the US administration and actions that it is choosing to take. A year ago, if you'll remember, today was the announcement of the Liberation Day tariffs. What happened in the week afterwards was a deep destabilization of the American economy and potentially the world economy. If you remember, the markets were tanking and everybody's 401ks were very ugly. Now, a year later, we've moved on to actual war. And for a very long time, the world economy has pursued this idea that prosperity would lead to peace. Well, we are in a very overall prosperous time still. That prosperity is not well distributed amongst people, between countries, and what we're seeing is that prosperity has not guaranteed us peace. We are in a time of war, and something that we do know is that when we do not have peace, that it is impossible to be prosperous.
If we look at the bigger picture here, as you said, the pressure points really have been particularly on Asia. We know that Asian countries do receive a lot of oil that is shipped through the Strait of Hormuz. What are the knock-on effects of those countries seeing a real direct impact economically, fuel rationing, emergency measures in place?
I think that what we are going through now and what we are going to see more of, we are going to start having deja vu back to the time of COVID. The connection is COVID, even though something different was happening in the world, was significantly disruptive to supply chains. And it created a significant supply-demand mismatch. With what's happening right now at the Strait of Hormuz, you can think about the world economy as plumbing. We have a significant breakage or blockage in a really critical part of the world's economic plumbing. And what we've seen before is when you have those kinds of supply shocks and supply restrictions, that the knock-on effects for the economy, for the big businesses, for little businesses, for producers, workers, consumers, are going to be very, very destabilizing.
So where does China come into all of this? Because we saw this interesting joint China-Pakistan proposal for peace earlier this week, and until now we hadn't really seen China directly get involved, despite voicing concern. What do you anticipate we might see China do then in the coming weeks?
I think in times of destabilization and chaos like this, you are creating the opportunity for different winners and losers. I think that China is experiencing the current moment like everybody. There may be some plus side, there's a lot of downside. But in terms of the opportunity for China, Pakistan to step forward and take kind of a world leadership role to mediate between the United States and Iran, this is something new. I'll just make a note. President Trump and President Xi were supposed to meet this month.
Yeah.
That was postponed just a week or two ago because of the new events in Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. When President Trump and President Xi meet, when they actually do meet and start talking about trade and economics, my concern is that everything that's happened in the interim will have undermined whatever leverage the United States might have had in those all-important trade talks to try to bring rationality or to bring some kind of clarity to the relationship between the two largest economies in the world.
Before we do let you go, Ambassador, are you optimistic then that diplomacy could lead to an end in this war in the coming weeks, especially with those economic factors that you've been detailing?
I really don't know. My concern is the effects of this destabilization on the experiences of ordinary people around the world. And I think that the desire for everyone in America and now around the world for rationality, clarity in our trade policies, in our foreign policies, and in our economic policies. This current war raises the question, who is this good for? And I really don't know what the answer is.
Okay. Katherine Tai, it's always great to speak to you. Thank you for taking time for us this afternoon.
Thank you so much.